Memoirs of Hypsicles, the first day I met Leonard. The sea was swollen that morning, like a lung drawing too much breath. The Flying Dutchman cut through the mist with the hunger of a predator, and I, cursed, bound yet alive, felt the salt air sting against my single eye. Hendrik had ordered me to stalk the merchant vessel drifting north, its sails crisp as a nobleman's shirt. He wanted plunder, blood, and fear, and as always, I obeyed. But I remember thinking, even before I set eyes upon him, that something more awaited. When the Dutchman came alongside, I leapt first. My boots struck the enemy's deck with a thud that silenced the rabble for a heartbeat. The clash of steel rose, voices shrieked, and my men, my cursed brothers, spilled across their timbers like a dark tide. Amidst it all, I was seeking someone. And then I saw him, a youth, though not too young to wield command, his hair the hue of polished walnut, his jaw proud, his stance unyielding. He carried a sword finer than most men would ever touch, long, slender, kissed by the forge of privilege. He stood where lesser men fled, his chest scarred already, though not yet aged by battles. His eyes were green fire, defiant, reckless, and beautiful. Leonard Cavendish. He moved like a duelist trained in bright courts, not on blood-slicked decks. The first strike of his blade nearly sheared the tip from one of my arms. I twisted back, my body shifting, skin rippling with the sea's corruption. He did not flinch at my deformity, did not pale when the blue rings glimmered on my flesh. Instead, he pressed forward. When his blade carved into one of my tentacles, I cried out, not from pain, but from shock. The steel bit deep, severing flesh that should have been untouchable. I had never been met with such force, such skill, such intent. Blood and poison mingled, spilling onto his hand as he drove closer. It was then that I decided he was mine. I lunged, my own dagger grazing his skin. The poison kissed him, subtle and swift, sinking into his veins like a secret. I saw his body falter, saw the tremor in his limbs. And yet, even as death's shadow coiled around him, he thrust his sword again, grazing my chest as though determined to meet me as equal, not prey. His breath caught, his knees gave way, and he collapsed into my arms. I remember the heat of him, fragile and mortal, yet burning with such furious life. His eyes rolled back, lips parting, and he whispered something. Not to me, perhaps to God, perhaps to his mother. I do not remember the words. I remember only the weight of him. The battle around us blurred. The deck shook with the Dutchman's curse, screams and smoke tangled in the air, but I felt none of it. All I felt was him slipping from this world. I could have let him go. Should have. But I didn't. Instead, I pressed my bleeding wrist to his lips. My blood, black-tinged and briny, mixed with poison, dripped into him. He swallowed unconsciously, even as his body convulsed. I whispered against his ear, words I cannot repeat, words the sea itself taught me, binding incantations of tide and venom. His chest still. Then he gasped, and I knew he would not leave me. When Hendrik roared for order, when the last of his crew fell to ruin, I carried Leonard aboard the Dutchman. He did not belong among us, yet fate, or perhaps my own selfish desire, chained him there. That was the day I first met him, the day my tentacle was severed, my heart pierced, and my doom rewritten.